welcome back to my channel. This is Reese the Resilient PA, and this is my channel when I sometimes discuss medicine, show off a lot of my lifestyle and what it looks like to walk with God, and talk a lot about my faith. And so I'm super excited that you're here. If you're new, I know it's a lot going on. I just got out of a photo shoot, but thank you for watching this video. So the purpose of this video is to explain how to negotiate a contract, and I have two different parts of this. I know that people kind of get into this a little bit when they get towards graduation, when they're in PA school and they have a class on it. So I don't want to get in the way of what your program has for you or say anything that might, be against what they're telling you or anything like that. What I'm saying in this video just comes from personal experience, and this is what I have learned as a new PA working in the field for about 3 years now. So this is just like a big old eye opener for those of you who wanted to know, just like the girl who commented on my page. So when you are negotiating your contract, let's say you're about to graduate from PA school and somebody sends you an email. Let's say it was a place that you rotated at and they're like, yeah, we would love to interview you. When you were here, you helped out the team, you were a team player, next step. So they bring you in for an interview and all that, and they start talking about pay. Now, when I was in PA school, and that was 2016 to 2018, I was told that starting off as a new graduate right out of school, you shouldn't take less than $90,000. Well, I got a job that offered me way less than that, but I was like, okay, well, I'm fresh out of school. It's probably just because I don't have experience. I was making excuses, and I was too afraid to actually speak up and negotiate my worth and my contract. Because if I would have known then what I knew now, I made my first job bank. Like the patients that I saw, at one day, I thought I saw like 24 patients back to back to back every 15 minutes. New patients was an hour appointment, but still, that's a lot. And in the psychiatry, it's a lot to process, it's a lot to think through, it's a lot to do, it's a lot. The flip side to that is I got a stellar work ethic. I got very great at listening quick and finishing my notes quick and being effective in my work. So I took that with a grain of salt and just rolled with the punches because I believed that doing that was making me a better provider. Well, when you're negotiating your contract, it's very, very, very important that you ask from the get-go, what are their expectations? Number one, what is the job that's hiring you? What are their expectations? Okay. Of course, we know as a PA, you will see patients. Yes. But are you being dinged for not seeing a certain number of patients in an hour? Do they use RUVs at the job? Is there a certain threshold as far as profit that you need to be bringing into the company on the business side every month in order to keep your job, or in order for them to see your value and keep you on as a provider on payroll? So those are important questions to answer. Okay, you need to ask, okay, when I'm seeing patients, new visit versus an established patient, how much time do I have to actually figure out what's going on? Like how much time, not figure out what's going on, but how much time do you get to spend with your patients on a day-to-day basis? How many patients are you going to be seeing? That's important because a lot of people, a lot of these private practices and certain things will hire you and they'll be like, yeah, you shouldn't see more than like 14 patients a day, or you shouldn't see more than 5 patients a day. And then when things hit the fan and all of a sudden you're seeing like 30 patients a day, it's crazy. You need to also ask, am I going to be on call? Do y'all do call here? Most private practices don't do call, but I am currently at a private practice that does call, and I'm only on call we're on a rotation. So it's 4 of us now. It's 4 PAs at my practice, and we all get call once a month for the whole month. And so I think I'm next in line on rotation. So for my 30 days that I have for call, it's really not hectic. Like it's really simple. But if I was at the hospital and somebody called me and I had to get dressed and get up in the middle of the night and go to the hospital because something catastrophic was happening with my patient, then that would be a different story. And I'm a little biased, nothing against people who want to do hospital work, because we need you, right? But this is just what aligns with my life and everything I have going on. I'm still young. I want to have a life. So I do private practice. Yeah, I should make a separate video on that, but I'm not going to get into that. Just do your research. Do your research. So getting back to what you should be negotiating in your contract. So we already talked about how many patients you should be seeing, what's their expectations of you. Are you based on profit? Are you based on number of patients? You know, what do they see as being effective? What do they see as quality in their job, in their line of work, where they work, in their practice, at their hospital, in their clinic, to keep you on and keep you on payroll and have you have a job? The worst thing that could happen is you accept the job, you start not knowing that, and then you fall behind. You're not making them enough money, or you're not seeing enough patients, you're not being efficient enough for them, and then next thing you know, they're like, we're gonna have to let you go because, you know, you're not making us enough, or you're not seeing enough patients. So number 2, the benefits. Now, this is what gets me. I will say my first job was awesome with this. I had 401k, and they would match a percentage of it. So they would match me 6% of my 401k. What was being taken out of my check, they would automatically add that same amount from the company into my 401k. With me only being at my last job for almost 3 years, I think my 401k was right at $15,000. That was pretty good for almost 3 years. So my advisor when I was in PA school told me to find a job that's going to match you 6% is like finding a needle in a haystack. That was really good, because most jobs probably will do about 3%, maybe 2%, but 6% was awesome. So you kind of want to make sure that the job you're going into has a 401k. And if they don't have that as part of their benefits package, then you need to ask them, are they looking at getting it? And if when, so that you can follow up after, if you do decide to take the job, and ask them, hey, you know, during my interview, I asked you, are we going to have 401k here? And you told me that you guys were looking at implementing it in May. It is now July. What's up? You know, that way you can stay on top of them, and so they know that you were serious about having 401k, and that was something that was agreed upon, and make sure that everything is in writing. It was nice having medical, vision, and dental. I wear contacts, and I love my teeth. I had braces for 2-3 years. So, and those, sometimes you pop up with a cavity or a toothache and you just need to go get something fixed. It's nice to have dental coverage. But if all you can get is medical and you can't get vision and dental, fine. But medical, I would definitely say, is the bare minimum, because if you get into a car accident, if you break your arm or your leg, you want to be able to use your insurance to go to the emergency room or urgent care, or you want to go to be able to see your doctor for your checkups and all that. That is the bare minimum. The bare minimum, especially if you have kids, so you can put your kids up under your insurance. So please, they have to have medical insurance. I don't want to hear nothing about I'm getting it or we're working on it. I mean, if they are and they plan on having this implemented before you even sign the contract to come on board, if you take the job that they're offering, cool. But if they just telling you, yeah, we're thinking about it, or we don't know, or we're a private practice and we're just starting and we don't have medical insurance, no, like we got to look for somewhere else. Medical insurance is the bare minimum, and employers should know that, because you shouldn't want to work nowhere where you don't get any any medical insurance. Like, come on. With everything going on with the pandemic and everything, if you felt sick, you should be able to go see your doctor, period. So we talked about what's expected of you. We talked about 401k. We talked about medical. Now, and that's the bare minimum. If they have vision, dental, short-term disability, long-term disability, that would be awesome. My first job had all that. So the benefits was great. When I had the benefits, but I didn't have the pay, but having the benefits kind of evened it out a little bit, because it's like, okay, I don't have, I'm not making 90,000, but I do have this, and this. And I did have a flex spending account. That's something else I will say. It's so nice to have a flex spending account. Because if you have any co-pays that you have to pay your primary care provider or urgent care or the hospital, if by chance you have to go, it's nice to have your TSA little flex spending account, because you just swipe your card and it's the amount of money that you took out when you signed up for benefits with your job. So it's already pre-taken out, and every month or every paycheck bi-weekly, you're paying that money back. So, you can use it to buy your prescriptions, you can use it to buy your contacts, eyeglasses, anything medical related. So that's a big help. That was a big help as being part of my benefits package. So you should definitely look for a job that doesn't just to recap, it doesn't bog you down with patience. Their expectations is clear of you, and you know exactly what those expectations are. They offer a 401k, a Roth IRA, something, because you're not working for nothing. Like, when you work, you're going to retire one day and you want to have something to show for it. So you know that you're paying into Social Security and Medicaid and Medicare and all the other stuff that comes out of our checks, but you need something to show for it for you. So your 401k is that blanket, and the sooner you start, the better. You can start building up money and contributing to that account. If they're not going to match you, you can try and match yourself from what's already being taken out of your bank account, and have a good little stack of money to sit on when you retire. So that way money won't be an issue. So 401k is very important, because no matter how young you are going to get old one day, and you want to, retire comfortably. So, I wouldn't accept no job that don't offer 401k or isn't thinking or working on getting a 401k, because that's, and then medical is the bare minimum. Okay, we went through all those three. The next thing is, I would definitely say, and I'm biased on this too, because all I've ever worked for is private practice. I don't want to kick contractors up under the bus, because I know I have about 2-3 colleagues that I know that do locums tenens, and they love to travel. They cover the expenses for that state's, wherever they send you, they will pay for your credentialing. They will pay for your room and board and how you're going to get around and all that. So that's wonderful. And that's beautiful. If you don't have a family, you ain't got nothing holding you down or holding you back, feel free to travel the world and work here for 2 weeks, and work in California for a month, and work in, New York for 3 weeks. And if that's what you want to do, but that's not something I want to do. And I don't even have a family. I did look at I'm not even going to lie. I did look at locum tenens at one point, and I don't know. I think it was attractive, the traveling and being able to experience different countries, different states. But the thing that turned me away from them is because I learned about exactly what a 1099 or a contractor is. So you make beautiful money because you get all your money up front. There's no taxes taken out of it. So those federal and state taxes I was just naming off a few minutes ago, you don't get none of that taken out. Social Security, you don't get nothing. But the downside to that is next year, when it's time to file taxes, you're going to be owing the IRS a lot of money because you got a lot of untaxed money. And on top of that, you don't get any benefits, 401k, nothing. You get all your money up front. People make thousands and thousands of dollars in a year. but then they have to pay it all back. So then I learned like I would have to get a CPA, and so that they can pay the IRS and we can pay into Medicare, Medicaid, and the federal and state taxes. And I mean, it would be like you're the provider, but you're also working for payroll for yourself. And you would have to take that money and be responsible for giving it to the government, giving it to all the little things that the government have in place, which you have to pay into, or you're going to have to end up paying them back somehow, some way. And I just felt like that was too much. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not any of that. My lane is what I went to school for. And so that went way over my head. I didn't even know what a CPA was until I went to consult one when I had a job opportunity in Virginia to do 1099. And I was just like, I mean, that's beautiful money. That's great. I'm making like $5,000 every 2 weeks, and all the debt I would be able to pay off, and all the places I would be able to travel. But when I'm done and it's time to file taxes, I'm gonna be looking crazy because I ain't saved none of that money like I was supposed to, and I already know me. So I just felt like that wasn't a good place for me to start, especially being out of school and that only being like about to be my second job. See, because when you right out of school, you very naive and you don't know, oh, should I do this? Oh, this sounds great. Should I not do that? Like you kind of. So over the years, I have learned these little things, and that's why I'm sharing these things with you. Another thing you want to make sure is that your supervising physician, by law, I know every state is different, but they're supposed to, at the bare minimum, be available by phone. So at my first job, my supervising physician ran his own clinic, and that was fine because my director was a PA, and she was the one she trained me, but so did all the other PAs. So I had support anytime, I reached out to my director and she wasn't available. I would go ask any of the other PAs that were available. I think I only ever had to call on my first supervising physician maybe once or twice, and every time I call on the first ring, he pick up. Like he didn't play no games. If he was seeing another patient, he would have to excuse himself to take my call. And he was always there, very supportive, very encouraging. He was like, I wish everybody could have a supervising physician like the one I had. Like, no words. To this day, I can hit him up and be like, hey, can you send me over, a recommendation for this or that, that, and he's just like, I'm on it. Like, that's my guy. You want to have that type of relationship with your supervising physician. But if you feel like, if you're one of those people that don't fly good on their own, I like when you give me my wings so I can fly, and you let me go out there and let me do my own thing, fall on my face, get up, learn. Like, I learn by doing, and I fly high when you give me the chance. When you try to like micromanage me, that's a problem. I don't like to be micromanaged. Even as a new PA, like there's a difference between being trainable and being humble and being open and being a team player and then being micromanaged. I don't feel like I went to school to be a professional so you can tell me every little thing and try to pick out every little detail and want me to do it exactly like you, because me and you are not the same. So I'm going to practice my way and you're going to practice your way. But long as like we're on the same accord and we're doing what's right for the patient, ultimately what I decide to do, that's my choice because that's my patient. But I don't want you telling me, no, you should prescribe this, you should do it like this, you should do it like that. Now, if I did something and you knew a better way to tell me how to do it, by all means, if you need me to step in or sit in with you or help you with something, or you want to help me with something, cool. Like, I am a team player, but I don't know how you feel about this though. But I don't like to be micromanaged. I don't want anybody clocking me. I don't want anybody like asking me questions about patients that are really not their patients and different things. It's just a couple of shady things I've been through, and I can't really get into it like how I want to because this is going on YouTube and this is going to be live. So once I put it up there, it is what it is, and I ain't trying to get in no trouble like that. But I'm just saying, be careful. Like, ask the question about micromanaging. I mean, or maybe you do like to be micromanaged, and maybe you do need somebody to stand over you and tell you what to do every second. And if you are that person, then make sure you ask about that. So that's something that you need to ask about. The most important thing for me, though, is the atmosphere at work. How is the atmosphere at work? Is there drama? Is there people up at the nurse's station talking about the doctor, and the doctor arguing with her husband, which is a red flag? Like, you shouldn't be working with people who are in relationships at work. Like, we're all colleagues and we're all co-workers and working together, but intimate relationships like that, especially when running the practice, I found that to be very non-helpful and very messy, because if they come to work one day mad at their husband, or the husband mad at the wife, and they're both doctors, or they're both like running the practice and stuff, things are off and you can feel it. Like, you can feel the tension. It's just too much. It's just too much. And so that's another thing. Just make sure you ask about micromanaging, like how much supervision you need. Do they have an onboarding process? Are they going to have you go through orientation? Are they going to take their time and teach you how a normal day flows? Make sure that, this is how you write the note. This is how you pull it up. This is how you pull up the patient's chart. Your notes are expected to be done by 5 o'clock before you leave. Or do you have a lenient job that don't care when you get the notes done, just as long as you get it done? Word to the wise, try to get your notes done as soon as possible. I type while I see the patient, and I have learned how to type without looking, so I can maintain contact with the patients so that they feel like they're being heard, so I can get my note done still and read over it when they leave and sign off on it, because I don't stay after work hours, because I don't get paid for after work hours. I'm salary. So when 5 o'clock come, that's cutting into my time. So all of my notes, best believe all of my notes are done at 5 o'clock. So try to put yourself on a good work ethic, but also ask them, how do they do things at their job? Because every job is different, but that's just how I do. Okay. Another thing, are you salary? Because I found out not too long ago that there are some job positions for physician associates that are not salary. Now, I can understand a PRN job or a part-time job, but you should always go for a job that's salary. You have a set annual amount that you make. And I mean, once you get PTO and all that, which is another thing, with the benefits package, please make sure there's PTO included, and make sure your PTO is different from holidays and federal holidays and all that other stuff, because I did have a job offer that was going to give me 30 days PTO, and I was like, oh, that's wonderful. But then I was like, well, Labor Day is in September, and I'm like, do y'all count Labor Day? And they were like, yep. I'm like, do you count Easter? Yep. Good Friday? Yep. So there are jobs that you have 30 days PTO time, but you really don't, because you got to take out every federal holiday or every holiday period, and then whatever you're left with, then that's how much PTO that you have. So you want to be with a job that is going to have a good enough PTO time for you to take mental health days, and for you to be able to travel with your family without thinking about, oh my God, I didn't work, like I'm not going to have enough money to pay this, and this. When you take paid time off, you take paid time off. So always make sure that you have a good amount of PTO. But yeah, like I've only used I used Cario, and I've used Practice Fusion as EMR. There are some places that when they post job opportunities, they're like must have experience in whatever EMR system they use. So you just want to make it clear that you're going to get orientation, and you're going to get onboarding, and you're going to get a chance to learn, and they're just not going to throw you to the wolves. They're at least going to show you how to pull up the patient chart, how do you create a note, and how do you sign off on a note, and how do you send in prescriptions, because that's the bare minimum. I'm like, come on now. You want to make sure like the atmosphere is right at your job. Now, it's only but so much you can get into in a job interview, because everybody puts on their best suit and they're dressed in their Sunday best, and you get the best representative when you're doing an interview. And then once you start working, the veil is lifted and you're like, oh my God, this is a disaster. And by that point, it's too late. So you want to make sure as much as possible, you can ask enough questions about, so what type of providers work here? Do you have doctors, PAs, nurse practitioners, nurses, techs? Do we all work together? Are we scheduled together? Or is it going to be a schedule where I'll be the only provider in the office? Like, you just want to make sure that you meet the people whom you're supposed to be working with, and you try to get a feel for them and everything else, because when they have a new person, everybody in the office is all smiles and they want to do the absolute best. But after about a month or two in, them smiles go away and you start to see the office function like it normally does before you got here, but now you're here. And if there's anything that's going on that you can kind of see and figure out, try to stay out of it. Like, even if you do by chance, God forbid, choose a job that has drama, try to stay out that drama. You're there for a paycheck. You're there to see your patients, treat them with respect, do what you got to do, and go home. You're not there to make friends. You're there to work and go home. Talked about orientation. We talked about supervising physician relationships. We talked about the atmosphere at work. We talked about 401k benefits, PTO. We talked about what's expected of you. Let me think. Is there anything else that I can't think of anything, but if I do, I'll come back to it. So actually speaking up and negotiating your contract. So after we done been through all of that, the best thing you can do is bring your literature. When you're at a job interview and they are offering you a position, you bring your literature to back you up. You can print off AAPA's salary report. They give one every year for the people who are active members, and the salary report breaks it down per state, per specialty, by experience, etc. So the bare minimum that you should accept, like if you're a PA with 2 years under your belt or a year under your belt or no experience up under your belt, if you're in Kentucky and it says in Kentucky a person with no experience should be making 90,000, you should be accepting no more than 90,000. And a word to the wise, my advisor in PA school told me to always add an extra 5,000 or 10,000 to that. So when they say no, but they'll pay you 95, well, that's more than what you was going to take anyway. So always make sure that your bare minimum is at least plus 5,000 or plus 10,000, because at least if they say no, they still end up paying you more than what you was going to accept as your low. Make sense? So if your low is 90,000 and you say, okay, I want to start at 100,000, and they're like, yeah, we're not going to pay you 100,000, but we'll pay you 95. So you get what I'm saying? Like, try to negotiate that way. But yeah, bring your literature and let them know, like, this is backed by AAPA. I should be making, so I'm not going to accept anything less than that. I'm not going to accept you not having 401k. I'm not going to accept you not having medical insurance, because if I break my leg, where am I supposed to go? You don't have short-term, long-term disability. With that being said, there are there are jobs out there that don't offer short-term and long-term disability. So what you can do is you can get partners. Sometimes these insurance companies, I'm with New York Life, that's my life insurance. You can get short-term and long-term disability through your insurance company. So if they don't offer that, it's not end all be all, but at the very least 401k. And if they match you by a certain percentage, the higher the better, but I wouldn't accept nothing less than 3. Now you do need CME money. I don't accept nothing less than 2,500, just because these CME places, or like when your chapter of the Association of Physician Associates throw a CME conference or something like that, them tickets be like $300 some dollars. And so you got to travel there wherever they're having it that year. And then you have to buy a ticket, and then you have to pay for your hotel room. And then anything extra outside of that, like if you've never been to Tennessee before and they have it in Gatlinburg, and you want to go downtown and eat and see this and see that and see the mountains, you need extra money to cover that. Now, CME ain't supposed to cover all that, but at the bare minimum, it's supposed to cover your ticket for the conference, and you're supposed to cover everything else. So just at least make sure, because I know a lot of people, sometimes we forget we have CME coming up and our audit and everything. Before you know it, you look up and they're like, yeah, you got to pay and your license, da da da. And so they go to all the conferences they can and find all the websites and do all the CME they can. And if you want me to, I can do a video on CME and some of the websites that I use. Is going to be more so for psychiatry, but at least you can get a feel for like how I found them. There's even a CME marketplace you can go on. So there's a lot of things that offer CME that's not hard and don't take up a lot of time and offers a good amount of credits. You just got to find them. But yes, CME, they're supposed to be offering you CME, 401k, short-term disability, long-term disability is a bonus, medical at the bare minimum, vision, dental, extra, but necessary, especially if you have kiddos or you yourself need it for you. I would definitely look at the area in which where you're working, because a big excuse that I kept hearing is, well, the cost of living is lower here, so that's why you don't make that much. No, you're supposed to pay people their worth. You didn't go to school for all this time and have all these loans just to sit up in somebody's 9 to 5 to make less than your worth, to barely be covering your bills and living from paycheck to paycheck. That's not what we went to school for. Now, we know we didn't go to school for the, well, at least I'm just speaking for me. I didn't go to school for the money, but at the bare minimum, I would like to be comfortable. And so at this point right now, I'm comfortable. I'm not a millionaire or nothing like that, but I can pay my bills, and I'm at a point where I don't live paycheck to paycheck. So, you know, I don't have kids, so I'm very comfortable right now. So you just want to make sure whatever job you accept, you make sure you have a good old talk with the boss or whoever it is that is interviewing you, and you go over this, the atmosphere, what's expected of you, how much they're going to pay you. You bring your literature, you ask questions. Because when you don't ask questions and you accept the job and you sign a contract saying you locked in for 2 years, and read your contract, please. Have a lawyer look over your contract, or have your PA advisor at your school, your PA director, ask for copies of your contract so they can give you the original to take home and look over, or you can make copies and hand it out and have several people look over it before you sign it. Because there's always clauses in there. There's the can't work within a 5-mile radius. You can't take your clientele with you if you leave here. There's like a couple of clauses within these contracts, and the way they word it, make sure you ask questions, make sure you take a copy, you underline, you highlight anything that don't make sense, and make sure you have their emails and everything so you can thank them. Like, thank you for interviewing me the other day and giving me the opportunity for the position. I just want to ask you about, in section 1B in paragraph 64, you said blah, blah, blah. Because when you don't ask questions and you sign your name on that line to be locked in for 2 years, you're there. And if you have to leave, it depends, like if they gave you relocation money or anything else. There are certain contracts that would require you to pay whatever's left of that money based off the time you've already completed back to the company, because you're leaving early. So signing a contract saying that you're not going to leave until your 2 years is up, it's not saying that you can't leave. You most certainly can leave. Can't nobody make you do anything. But I mean, I wouldn't want to use that job for a reference, though. You got to be careful what type of bridges you burn, which is why it's so very important to go over the things I talked about in this video. Because if you burn certain bridges, and let's say that was your first job and nobody there want to give you a recommendation, or you're scared to ask them because you left, you broke your contract, and you're scared, like, what are they going to tell your new boss about you breaking contracts? And if they tell them, then are they going to want to hire somebody who breaks contracts? So it's just like, Be careful. Do all your research about the place where you're going to be working and talk to people who work there to get the 411. Not being messy, not gossiping, but just because you really want to know before you sign your life away on that contract. There's all sorts of things, and your PA school should have went into depths on like the 50-mile or 5-mile radius, and making sure you can't take your clientele, or you can't tell your clientele where you're going, so they leave that practice and follow you, because some jobs don't want you to take people away from their practice. They want them to stay within the practice, so they end up, after you leave, putting them with one of your colleagues and still keeping them in the practice. So you got to make sure that you do your research. You pull up AAPA salary report, you go in there confident, and you're not afraid to speak up and advocate for yourself, because if you get into something and your finances is a hot mess because you're not making enough money, or your bills are a hot mess because you got a hospital bill and they don't even offer medical insurance, like that's messed up. That's messed up. Especially if you were seen at a hospital that's not a nonprofit or doesn't do charity or write off certain bills or whatever, and you can't apply for that. And it's one of those hospitals that's a public hospital or something like that's a private hospital, excuse me. I mean, they want their money however they got to get it. I mean, if you got to pay $1 a month for the next 30 years, I mean, they want their money. So don't get yourself into nothing like that. If you have any questions down below, I know I've been talking for a while, but if you have any questions down below, please let me know if there's anything that I said that didn't make sense, or any question that I didn't answer about negotiating your contract. But hopefully your PA school went into that. If they did not, let me know, hit me up. But for now, I think without getting too deep in the weed for things, those are the top things you need to be concerned about, especially your pay and your benefits package, because there's a lot of jobs that want good workers and don't offer you nothing. They'll work you like a slave and don't even give you medical insurance. Don't accept a job like that. Like, I'm just saying, don't do it. And if you are thinking about going into contracting, cool, but make sure you have your ducks in a row financially, like you have an advisor and a CPA and all this, because they're able to calculate by the end of the year what they're going to be paying you versus whatever the taxes requirements are in that state, what tax bracket you're in. They're going to be able to calculate exactly how much you're going to have to owe the IRS at the end of the year. And if that's something you think that you can't save up, or you can't afford a CPA, I mean, it's a lot of thinking that has to go into accepting a job offer before you just accept it. Like, you just can't just sign your name on the dotted line because it's a job. Like, you got to think about this. And I wish I had somebody that, and I did. My PA advisor, my PA director, I accepted the job, I accepted, and it helped me develop this wonderful work ethic and taught me all the things about psychiatry that I didn't know before walking into that job. It did make me a better PA, but it was some things I could have did without. But now that I'm at this next job, I have this beautiful work ethic that I can bring with me. But now I have to fill in the gap everywhere else. So anyway, that's another video for another day. But guys, thank you so much for listening. As I promised, I still will be mentioning medicine every now and then, just not in every single video. But thank you for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye, guys.